Did you know that women over 60 are now the fastest growing demographic, choosing to live alone by choice, not circumstance? While society tells us we should fear aging alone, recent studies show something shocking. 78% of older women living solo report higher life satisfaction than their married counterparts. But here's what nobody talks about. There are 5 distinct types of women who've cracked the code to thriving in solitude. If you're over 60 and wondering whether living alone could actually be your path to happiness, you need to hear this. The woman I'm about to introduce you to discovered something that changed everything she thought she knew about growing older. Meet Catherine, a 67-year-old former teacher who spent 40 years putting everyone else's needs first. After her divorce at 62, she faced the terrifying prospect of living alone for the first time in her adult life. Friends pitied her, family worried constantly, and she questioned every decision. But 5 years later, Catherine calls her solo life the greatest adventure I never knew I needed. She's not alone in this transformation. Through extensive research and interviews with hundreds of women over 60, I've discovered 5 distinct types of women who've turned solitude into their superpower. These aren't women who settled for loneliness, they're women who chose independence and found extraordinary happiness. Each type has unique characteristics, challenges, and strategies that led to their fulfillment. Before we dive in, I want you to think about this. Have you ever felt guilty for wanting time alone, or wondered if you could actually be happy without a partner? Drop a comment and let me know. Your story might help another woman realize she's not alone in these feelings. The first type is the creative soul, women who use solitude as fertile ground for artistic expression they never had time to explore. Let me tell you about Rosemary, a 63-year-old former bank manager who discovered her artistic identity only after her children left home and her husband passed away. For 35 years, Rosemary's creativity was limited to organizing family photo albums and decorating for holidays. She always admired artists, but believed she wasn't the type. Living alone for the first time, she found herself in a quiet house with no one to please but herself. The transformation began when Rosemary stumbled upon a watercolor set her daughter left behind. What started as mindless dabbing became daily painting sessions. Without anyone to critique or interrupt, she painted her memories, her grandmother's garden, her childhood home, her late husband's hands. The creative process became meditation, therapy, and pure joy rolled into one. Within 2 years, Rosemary was selling her paintings at local galleries and teaching art classes at the community center. What makes creative souls thrive in solitude? First, they have uninterrupted time to explore their artistic voice without external judgment. Rosemary explains, when you're alone, you can be truly honest with your creativity. No one's watching, no one's commenting, no one's suggesting improvements. Second, they use art as a bridge to connect with others on their own terms. Rosemary's art classes became her social outlet, but she controlled the timing and intensity of these interactions. The creative soul faces unique challenges. Many battle decades of messages that they're not artistic or too old to start. Rosemary initially felt embarrassed showing her work to others. I kept apologizing for my paintings, calling them amateur hour, she recalls. The breakthrough came when a gallery visitor connected emotionally with one of her pieces. That moment taught her that authenticity matters more than technical perfection. Creative souls also struggle with the vulnerability that comes with artistic expression. When you live alone, your art becomes deeply personal. It's your companion, your conversation partner, your emotional outlet. This intensity can feel overwhelming, but it's also what makes their work so authentic and powerful. For women identifying as creative souls, here's how to embrace this path. Start small and private. Don't announce your artistic journey to the world. Let it be your secret garden initially. Set up a dedicated creative space, even if it's just a corner of your kitchen table. This physical space signals to your brain that creativity is a priority. Experiment with different mediums: painting, writing, photography, music, crafts, gardening as art. The key is finding what speaks to your soul, not what others expect. Join online communities before local ones. Facebook groups and online forums for senior artists provide encouragement without the pressure of face-to-face interaction. Share your work when you're ready, not when others pressure you. Document your progress with photos or journals. Watching your skills develop becomes incredibly motivating. Most importantly, redefine success. Success isn't selling paintings or winning contests. It's the joy you feel during the creative process, the problems you solve through art, and the way creativity enriches your solitude. Have you ever felt drawn to a creative pursuit but talked yourself out of it? What would you try if no one was watching? The second type is the spiritual seeker. Women who discover profound peace and purpose through spiritual practices and inner exploration. Meet Gabrielle, a 69-year-old former nurse who found her spiritual calling after retiring and choosing to live alone. For decades, Gabrielle's spirituality was limited to Sunday church attendance and saying grace at family dinners. She believed in God but felt disconnected from any deeper spiritual experience. Living alone changed everything. The quiet house became a sanctuary where Gabrielle could explore questions she'd never had time to contemplate. She started with meditation, initially just 5 minutes of sitting quietly. I thought I was terrible at it, she laughed. My mind raced with grocery lists and worry about my grandchildren. But persistence paid off. Those 5 minutes became 20. Then an hour of morning meditation that transformed her entire day. Gabrielle's spiritual journey expanded beyond meditation. She studied different faith traditions, attended online spiritual workshops, and created daily rituals. Her morning coffee became a gratitude practice. Evening walks became walking prayers. Gardening became a form of communion with creation. Living alone gave her the freedom to explore spirituality without explaining her practices to anyone or conforming to others' expectations. What makes spiritual seekers thrive in solitude? They use quiet time for deep introspection and connection with the divine. Gabrielle explains, when you're alone, you can hear your soul speaking. There's no background noise of other people's needs or judgments. They create sacred spaces and rituals that provide structure and meaning to their days. Gabrielle's home became a reflection of her spiritual journey. Meditation cushions, inspiring books, crystals, and artwork that reminded her of her connection to something greater. Spiritual seekers also find community through shared spiritual practices, but on their own terms. Gabrielle joined a meditation group that met weekly, but maintained her solitary practice as the foundation. She discovered that her deepest spiritual experiences happened in solitude, while group activities provided support and learning opportunity. The challenges for spiritual seekers are real. Family members sometimes worry about too much spiritual focus, especially if it differs from traditional family beliefs. Gabrielle's daughter initially worried that her mother was getting too deep into that meditation stuff. Some friends didn't understand her need for quiet time or spiritual retreats. There's also the challenge of avoiding spiritual bypassing, using spirituality to avoid dealing with practical life issues. Another challenge is navigating the vast world of spiritual options available today. With so many teachers, practices, and philosophies, spiritual seekers can feel overwhelmed or worry about choosing the wrong path. Gabrielle experienced this initially, jumping between different meditation styles and spiritual books without finding consistency. For women identifying as spiritual seekers, here's how to nurture this path. Start with what resonates naturally. If you're drawn to prayer, begin there. If nature calls to you, make outdoor time sacred. Create daily spiritual anchors, small rituals that ground you. This might be morning gratitude, evening reflection, or blessing your meals. Explore different traditions with curiosity, not commitment. Read books, attend online sessions, try different meditation styles. Think of it as spiritual dating. You're discovering what feeds your soul. Find balance between solitude and spiritual community. Join groups that support your journey without overwhelming your need for quiet reflection. Design your living space to support your spiritual practice. This doesn't mean creating a shrine, it means surrounding yourself with items that remind you of your spiritual intentions. Most importantly, trust your inner wisdom. Your spiritual journey is unique to you. Have you ever felt a pull toward deeper spiritual exploration, but worried about others' reactions? What spiritual practices have you been curious about but never tried? The third type is the adventure enthusiast. Women who embrace their solo years as the perfect time for exploration, travel, and new experiences. Let me introduce you to Carmen, a 64-year-old former accountant who discovered her adventurous spirit only after choosing to live alone. During her married years, Carmen's idea of adventure was trying a new restaurant in the next town. Her husband preferred predictable vacations, and she adapted her dreams to his comfort zone. When Carmen found herself living alone at 61, she faced a choice: settle into a quiet, predictable routine, or finally pursue the adventures she'd dreamed about. She chose adventure. Her first solo trip was a weekend getaway to a nearby city. Terrifying but exhilarating, that weekend opened floodgates. In 3 years, Carmen has traveled to 15 countries, learned to kayak, taken photography workshops in national parks, and joined a hiking group for women over 60. Living alone taught me that I'm my own best travel companion, Carmen explains. I can wake up in Rome and decide to spend the entire day in one museum or change my plans completely because I overheard someone mention a hidden chapel. No negotiations, no compromises, just pure exploration. Her adventures aren't just about exotic destinations. Carmen takes cooking classes, attends cultural events, tries new fitness activities, and explores her own region with fresh eyes. What makes adventure enthusiasts thrive in solitude? They have complete freedom to follow their curiosity without considering anyone else's preferences, fears, or limitations. Carmen's travel style is spontaneous. She might extend a trip by 3 days. This flexibility is impossible when you're coordinating with others. Adventure enthusiasts also discover confidence they never knew they possessed. Carmen recalls getting lost in Morocco and having to navigate back to her hotel using broken French and hand gestures. When you're alone, you can't rely on anyone else to solve problems. You discover your own resourcefulness. The challenges for adventure enthusiasts are practical and emotional. Safety concerns are real. Traveling alone as an older woman requires more planning and awareness. Carmen learned to research destinations thoroughly, share her itinerary with family, and trust her instincts. She's also had to confront ageism from travel agents who assume she wants senior-friendly tours. Carmen discovered that adventure doesn't always require expensive trips. She found free walking tours, house-sitting opportunities, and off-season deals. I spend less on entertainment at home because I'm saving for my next adventure. The emotional challenge is dealing with others' fears and projections. Carmen's adult children initially worried about her solo travels, bombarding her with safety warnings. Well-meaning friends sometimes made comments like, "Aren't you lonely traveling alone?" These reactions required Carmen to develop confidence in her choices and clear boundaries. Start local and small. Day trips to nearby towns, solo museum visits, or trying new restaurants alone build confidence. Pay attention to what excites you: cultural experiences, natural beauty, historical sites. Your interests will guide your adventure choices. Plan for safety without letting fear control you. Research destinations, share it with trusted friends, keep emergency contacts handy, and trust your instincts. Take a self-defense class or travel safety workshop if it builds confidence. Join groups for solo female travelers. Online communities provide practical advice and emotional support. Budget for adventures by tracking where your money currently goes. You might discover you're spending on things that don't bring joy, freeing up funds for experience. Consider adventure options at every price point: house sitting, local exploration, group tours, or luxury solo trips. The key is matching adventures to your budget, not limiting adventures because of your budget. document your adventures through photos, journals or blog. This creates lasting memories and helps you appreciate your courage and growth. Share your experiences with others who support your adventurous spirit. Most importantly, redefine adventure for yourself. Adventure doesn't have to mean skydiving or backpacking through Europe. It might mean taking a pottery class, visiting a new neighborhood, or attending a concert alone. The essence of adventure is stepping outside your comfort zone and embracing new. What would you try if you trusted your own company completely? 4. The lifelong learner. The fourth type is the lifelong learner, women who dedicate their solitude to acquiring new knowledge, skills and understanding. Meet Diane, a 66-year-old former secretary who transformed her living room into a personal university after choosing to live alone. During her working years, Diane's learning was limited to job-required training and helping her children with homework. She always envied people who seemed naturally intellectual but believed she wasn't smart enough for serious learning. Living alone changed Diane's relationship with learning completely. Without anyone to impress or worry about looking foolish in front of, she gave herself permission to be a beginner. Her first venture was learning Spanish through online apps. I made terrible mistakes, pronounced everything wrong, and had to repeat lessons multiple times, she remembered. But no one was there to judge me or make me feel stupid. I could learn at my own pace. Diane's learning journey expanded rapidly. She enrolled in online college courses, joined virtual book clubs, learned to use new technology, and even started a podcast about local history. Her dining room table became a permanent study space, covered with textbooks, notebooks, and her laptop. Learning became both her hobby and her passion, filling her days with purpose and intellectual stimulation. What makes lifelong learners thrive in solitude? They have unlimited time to pursue knowledge without interruption or judgment. Diane explains, when you're alone, you can spend 3 hours researching something that fascinates you, or you can abandon a subject that doesn't click. There's no pressure to finish things for others or explain why you're interested in seemingly random topics. Lifelong learners also discover the joy of learning for its own sake, not for grades or career advancement. Diane audited college courses in art, history, philosophy, and psychology, subjects she'd never had time for earlier in life. I finally understand the difference between learning because you have to and learning because you want to, she says. Everything makes more sense when you're genuinely curious rather than just trying to pass a test. The challenges for lifelong learners are both practical and psychological. Many battle decades of educational insecurity, feelings of not being smart enough or too old to learn. Diane struggled with imposter syndrome when she first joined online discussions with younger students. Technology can be intimidating, especially when most learning resources assume digital literacy. Age discrimination in educational settings is real. Diane encountered professors who seemed surprised by her participation and classmates who treated her like a novelty rather than a peer. Some family members didn't understand her dedication to learning, questioning why she was wasting time on subjects that wouldn't lead to career advancement. Physical challenges can also impact learning. Diane had to adjust to reading glasses, find ergonomic ways to use her computer for extended periods, and manage the eye strain that comes with increased screen time. She also had to learn to pace herself. Her enthusiasm for learning sometimes led to mental exhaustion. For women identifying as lifelong learners, here's how to embrace this path. Start with subjects that genuinely interest you, not what you think you should learn. Follow your curiosity. If you're fascinated by ancient Egypt, start. Interest is the best motivation for sustained learning. Create a dedicated learning space, even if it's just a corner of your living room. Having a designated area signals to your brain that learning is a priority. Organize your materials, keep good lighting, and make the space inviting. Mix learning methods to keep things interesting. Online courses, audiobooks, documentaries, podcasts, and hands-on workshops. Different approaches work for different subjects and learning styles. Join learning communities that welcome adult learning. Many universities have programs specifically for seniors, and online platforms offer forums for discussion and support. Don't let technology fears hold you back. Most platforms have tutorials, and librarians are excellent resources for digital learning assistance. Set realistic goals and celebrate small victories. Learning a new language or mastering a complex subject takes time. Be patient with yourself. Keep a learning journal to track your progress and reflect on what you've discovered. This helps maintain motivation and provides a record of your intellectual growth. Most importantly, embrace beginner's mind. It's okay to not know things, to make mistakes, to ask questions that seem basic. The goal isn't to become an expert overnight. It's to keep your mind active, curious, and growing. Challenge the belief that learning is only for the young. Research shows that continued learning actually helps prevent cognitive decline and keeps the brain healthy. Have you ever wanted to learn something but felt too old or not smart enough to start? What subject have you always been curious about but never had time to explore? Remember, it's never too late to become the learner you always wanted to be. #5. The community builder. The fifth type is the community builder. Women who use their independence to create meaningful connections and serve others while maintaining their chosen solitude. Let me tell you about Irene, a 68-year-old former social worker who discovered her gift for bringing people together after choosing to live alone. During her married years, Irene's community involvement was limited to her husband's preferences and family obligations. She volunteered when convenient and socialized when expected, but rarely felt truly connected to causes that mattered to her. Living alone gave Irene the freedom to choose her community involvement deliberately. She started small, volunteering at a local food bank one morning a week. The experience was so fulfilling that she gradually increased her involvement, eventually becoming a volunteer coordinator. But Irene's community building went beyond traditional volunteering. She started a support group for recently widowed women, organized neighborhood potluck dinners, and created an informal mentorship program, connecting older women with younger ones facing life transition. Living alone taught me the difference between being lonely and being alone, Irene explains. I discovered I could have rich, meaningful connections with others, while still maintaining my independence and solitude. I control when I engage and when I retreat, which makes my community involvement more authentic and sustainable. Irene's approach to community building is intentional and boundaried. She chooses activities that align with her values and interests, not what others expect of her. Her home remains her sanctuary. She rarely hosts large gatherings, preferring to meet people in neutral spaces. This allows her to engage deeply with her community while protecting her energy and personal space. What makes community builders thrive in solitude? They have the emotional bandwidth to genuinely focus on others. Irene can listen deeply to a struggling friend because she's not worried about getting home to cook dinner. Community builders bring unique perspectives to their service, having navigated life transitions, loss, and aging challenges. Irene's support group for widowed women is effective because she understands the specific challenges they face. The challenges for community builders are significant. They must constantly balance their desire to help others. Irene learned this the hard way when she became overwhelmed by trying to solve everyone's problems. I had to learn that being helpful doesn't mean being available 24/7, she reflects. Because they're perceived as having free time, people often assume they're available for any request. Irene receives multiple calls a week from people wanting her to take on additional volunteer roles. Learning to say no gracefully while maintaining relationships requires constant navigation. Another challenge is avoiding the trap of using community involvement to avoid dealing with personal issues. Irene had to examine her motivations honestly. Was she helping others because she felt called to serve? For women identifying as community builders, here's how to embrace this path. Start with causes that genuinely matter to you. Your passion will sustain you through challenges and make your contribution more meaningful. Consider what skills and experiences you bring to community service, your professional background and life experiences. Set clear boundaries from the beginning. Decide how much time you want to dedicate to community involvement. Create a schedule that includes both service time and personal time. Communicate your boundaries clearly to others. Choose diverse types of community involvement. Mix direct service with leadership roles and informal connection. This variety keeps your involvement interesting and utilizes different skills. Find community activities that can be done from home when needed. Online volunteering, making phone calls for organizations. Build relationships with other volunteers who respect your independence. The best community connections enhance your life. Most importantly, remember that community building is a choice, not an obligation. You get to decide how, when, and where you engage with others. Your solitude is not a resource for others to claim. It's your foundation for authentic service. Regular self-reflection helps ensure your community involvement remains aligned with your values and energy levels. Have you ever felt pressure to be more social or involved than you actually wanted to be? Remember, you can make a significant impact while still honoring your need for solitude and independence. Let's return to Catherine, the woman we met at the beginning. When we first encountered her, she was a terrified 62-year-old facing unwanted solitude after her divorce. 5 years later, Catherine embodies all 5 types we've discussed. She's discovered her love for watercolor painting, finding peace in her morning meditation practice, traveling solo to art workshops across the country, learning Italian through online courses, and mentoring other recently divorced women. But Catherine's transformation isn't just about activities, it's about identity. I spent 40 years defining myself through other people's needs, she reflects. Living alone forced me to ask, who am I, when no one else is watching? What do I actually want? The answer surprised her. Catherine discovered she's naturally creative, deeply spiritual, more adventurous than she ever imagined, intellectually curious, and genuinely caring toward others, but all on her own terms. The key insight from Catherine's journey is that happiness in solitude isn't about filling every moment with activity. It's about choosing how to spend your time based on what truly fulfills you. Catherine's days now have rhythm and purpose because every choice is intentional. She's learned the difference between being alone and being lonely, between independence and isolation. Catherine's transformation reveals that the women who thrive in solitude aren't running from relationships, they're running toward themselves. They've discovered that their own company is not something to endure, but something to celebrate. Which of these 5 types resonates most with you? Are you a creative soul ready to explore your artistic side? A spiritual seeker called to deeper meaning? An adventure enthusiast waiting for your next journey? A lifelong learner, hungry for knowledge? Or a community builder, ready to serve others on your own terms? Drop a comment and let me know. I read every single one, and your story might inspire another woman to embrace her independence. If this video opened your eyes to new possibilities for living alone, hit that like button and share it with any woman who needs to hear this message. Subscribe for more empowering content about thriving in your later years, because your best chapters might still be ahead of you.